Kristen is a certified sex coach where she helps people with relationships, love, and sex. Kristen even has her own podcast where she talks about pleasure politics, activism, and the ins and outs of relationships.
How dare you think that I should dumb myself down or pull myself down to your level?
Let's hear what Kristen has to say about 21st century dating in this episode of The Catch. Welcome to today's episode of The Catch. Today we're talking to relationship coach Kristen Thomas, and we explore all kinds of things today like toxic masculinity. We're also talking about one of her tools that she's brought as a relationship coach where she teaches men and women about the vagina. And so we're going to explore that and all kinds of other interesting topics about what it's like to be a relationship coach today. Kristen, thanks for coming on the show. I was really interested in having you on The Catch because you and I have talked about your growing career as a relationship coach.
Yeah.
Tell me how you explain what you're doing.
I describe myself as a relationship, dating, and sex coach. I am still currently working towards becoming a certified sex coach. So my brand is kind of talking not just about human sexuality, but also marriage and relationships. So I just say that people need to come see me when they want to improve their love lives. I don't really help people that are on the verge of divorce. I'm usually more for people who've kind of dealt with some of the heavier issues. They really love each other. They're just not really happy with exactly where they're at right now in their relationship. So it doesn't matter whether you're a couple or you're single, what your orientation is or what your gender is. I help everybody.
Okay, good. That's awesome. The idea behind this show, of course, is that we're talking to women who are modern women and who are getting this level of independence now that they've never had in life, in history, and now they have choice. And so it's making men have to adjust how they date women. Men have been doing the same thing forever. But in your role as a relationship coach, and just being a single woman yourself, you get to date as well. So what are some of the things that you're hearing from some of the women that you're discussing with?
It's a wide variety. Some people are having really, really good luck, and some people are having really terrible luck. So a lot of times what I'm hearing is that it's still a lot of the hookup culture, that a lot of people aren't willing to really commit to things, not commit to multiple dates. I've experienced that too. People who will go out on 2 or 3 dates, and after that they're like, oh, they found something wrong, and they're not always expressing those things. I think that's one of the more frustrating things for a lot of people dating right now is they're not getting any feedback. Ghosting and all that stuff is obviously a big thing that everyone talks about these days. I haven't really experienced much of the ghosting, just like, hey, you're cool and all, but yeah, not right now. But no real explanation why. I think that's what a lot of people have problems with right now. Because you can't learn how to be better if you're not getting at least a little bit of feedback like, hey, I'm not looking for anything serious right now, or the sex really wasn't that good. Trust me, I gave that feedback recently and it was not received well.
You gave that feedback to someone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's, but I would think that'd be great feedback. At the same time, it would just make you, okay, let me do a little bit of research on this and how to do this better. Because, where do people learn how to have sex?
People like me.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on everything out there when it comes to human sexuality, but especially when it comes to things like BDSM or things like that, fetishes, I know just enough to maybe help people kind of start exploring that side of themselves. But really, a lot of what I'm helping people with is just better communication and just being introspective and figuring out what they really want.
That's interesting. We've talked about that before with other guests where, we've explored the idea of more introspection, and women have certainly said that they want more communication.
Yeah.
And when you talk about like communication, communication is such a big, broad word, but I feel like, is it communication after introspection and a level of intimacy? Because it's like you could say things, that's communicating, but you have to be able to intimately express your
There's a
thoughts.
difference between just talking and really communicating with your partner. Brene Brown's one of my favorite people on the planet. And The Power of Vulnerability is one of her books. And a lot of her stuff is talking about how to really grow and to really understand somebody, you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. I think that is a big difference between men and women, is that we are so used to having those vulnerable conversations, whether it's with our mothers or our sisters or our friends, where we're like, I feel this way. And we're trying to work through that emotion. And men don't grow up with that. So as you get older, and now we're in this era of, I want more communication, I want more, what does that really mean?
Right.
When you have a goal to improve your communication, you've got to be really specific. You talk about, I want to be able to better express myself when I'm feeling angry or I'm feeling sad. So many men are taught to bottle it all up and not talk about it, not shed a tear, things like that. And that is all bullshit, because we're all humans and we all need to sometimes cry. We all sometimes need to yell or scream at the top of our lungs. We all have the right to just express our emotions in a healthy way. And there should not be a difference between men and women in how we do that.
You know, one of the recent discussions has been on the toxic masculinity that is going on out there. Brands are embracing it and looking into it and exploring how to talk about it, how to get men to talk about it. Do you think that toxic masculinity up into today's era is the thing that's hindering men from?
I think that it's part of the equation, certainly. All of us kind of, as adults, I think, have come to understand a lot of people get bullied in some way, shape, or form. There's always somebody that's picking on someone, but then oftentimes that person who's being picked on is then picking on someone that's less powerful than they are. There's passing that down. It's the constant power struggle. And I think that is what is really at the core of toxic masculinity, is this search for power over someone or something. Like the Gillette ad, things like standing up to a man that's going to chase a woman down a street for catcalling. Breaking up two boys that are fighting and ending that boys will be boys and boys are roughhousing and boys fight. That one boy is trying to exert power over the other one. That man is trying to exert power over the woman as she's walking down the street. That's, I think, what's really at the core of that. And teaching men that there doesn't have to be that constant struggle to have power over someone, I think would do a lot of men a lot of good. That is a huge box of information right there to even consider. Like, how do you start talking to men? How do women start talking to men about their toxic masculinity and how it could be affecting their relationship with one another? Well, you see that in a lot of heterosexual, especially heterosexual relationships, that there's always someone that has power over somebody, whether it's through money, just where they're at in their career, stuff like that, their size. I think that men need to just realize that it's never about having to have power over somebody, whether it's your employee, your spouse, your friends, or other men. You just have to be a human being and just be in your space and enjoy your space and the people that are around you. But it's a false dichotomy to think that you have power or you don't have power. Like, everyone has power, and you don't gain power by taking someone else's away.
I feel like there's just so much to learn and explore into that area. I feel like that might be the thing that humanity, mankind, men start to really discuss in the next, year to 5 years. Because again, men are trying to be in relationships with women who are now equals. Who make sometimes more money, sometimes who are the breadwinner, more educated, and they've got to learn how to totally be okay with it, because women have been totally okay with it for millennia.
Exactly, that's the whole thing, that we've been okay with being lesser than, not getting inheritance, not having equal pay. But now we are in that position where we're either making more or less. But there are problems for women as well. That could be a conversation in itself. But I think as humans, we've got to get used to the idea that it doesn't matter which gender, which partner, because it can even happen in gay and lesbian relationships, that money doesn't have to equate power. It's just especially when you're in a real bonded, committed relationship, that you've got to look past some of the things like that. I mean, I've had struggles with that in previous relationships where the men in my life didn't always take it well that I made more money or was respected in my job. I think that those were both factors in both my marriages. I've been twice married, twice divorced. The first one, I didn't think he would have a problem with me being the person that kind of got us out of our town that we were in and got us up here to Kansas City rather than transferring with his job. But it definitely was, I think, a factor in letting things go down the path of divorce. Second one, I tried to kind of screen for that. As I was dating, I would ask, would you ever have a problem with a woman that you're with making more money? And, this one I ended up marrying the second time was like, I would never have a problem with that. I'm a feminist, blah, blah, blah. Once we were actually in that situation, he admitted that he had a big problem with it, that he felt like it was a knock against his masculinity, that he felt like less of a man, all that. And I said, I have a college degree. You don't. Your earning potential is not nearly as high as mine. How dare you think that I should dumb myself down or pull myself down to your level? You work at a coffee shop right now. Sure, you're a manager, but let's be real here. I'm going to be making 6 figures in a month and a half. I was about to take a new job, and he didn't want me to take this new job. The other thing was I was going to be traveling quite a lot, and we were trying to start a family. And he's like, well, guess we can't do that now. I said, why? He's like, well, you're going to be on the road 2, maybe 3 weeks a month. Like, I'm not going to be the default parent. I'm like, I'm sorry, time out, what? So you expect that if we have children that I'm going to stay home? Because that's not fucking happening. I've never said that I was going to be the kind of person who was going to stay at home with children. I'll pay a nanny. Yeah. You can stay at home. Let's figure out the finances on that. I think you'd be the one that stays home, not me.
It sounds like to date modern women, men need to abandon all the male-female roles that people have in relationships.
The gendered roles.
And
yeah.
I mean, look, if women want equality, they have to abandon them as well.
Agreed.
And
yes.
be like, okay, we are equal human beings here, this relationship.
Yes.
And so all these rules that have been given to us forever about men should do this and women do this, now we're on equal footings. We make more. Sometimes we make more money, and we've got to stop holding on to these old ideas. What kind of message would you give to guys that's in that situation?
I think it's really important for them to actually look at how their parents were, just because once you kind of understand where you're coming from, you can better guide yourself to where you want to go. It took me a long time to really acknowledge how deeply traditionally gendered my parents' relationship is. I love my parents. They love each other very, very much. They've been together for 40 years now. I know that they're genuinely in love, and it's really cute a lot of times. But she works full time. He's retired and kind of doing some hobby stuff, and she still does the vast majority of the housework, even though he is home more than she is. We actually went out for dinner last week for my birthday, and it was kind of like this, oh, well, your dad did the laundry this week. Your dad did the ironing this week. I was like, oh, you want a cookie or a medal? Like, you've been together 40 years and you're super stoked that your husband did the laundry?
I've been in relationships where I do all the laundry.
And that's how it just should be about, you take care of these things, I take care of these things, we make it work. And it's not assigned based on what's between your legs. It's just based on who's home more, who has the time, who's good at it. I did StrengthsFinders a long time ago, and one of my things is individualization. Like, I don't care who you are or what you are, where you come from. If you're good at something and I'm bad at something, I want your help with it, but I'll try and compliment you too. Like, people in relationships need to do that too.
Gender roles. When women are making this kind of money now, achieving these type of career goals, I mean, what are they saying amongst themselves about how they're interacting with men? Since you're dealing with relationships and other people.
I had a conversation last week with a woman who was talking about how with where she's at, she does have difficulty finding men who are kind of at her level or above. She wants to have someone that earns more money than her. And I did call her out on that a little bit. I said, look, here's the thing. Men have always had to tolerate having a woman that makes less than them. Think of it in that terms. I'm just not, tolerate's maybe not the right word, but think of it in that terms for the moment, okay? So now that you're up here, like where's this ratcheting up stop, Like, if that expectation has always been there, why can't it be reversed? Why do you feel like you have to make less money than a man?
That's interesting. That's a very interesting question. And what was her response?
Because she wasn't thinking of it. She was thinking of him making as much money as her, not her making less money than him. So there's just some things I think that are so ingrained in us that until we take the moment to go like, yeah. I mean, I had that issue for a long time too, just thinking about like, yes, I've got to find a guy that's a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, something that's professional that's making more money than me, because if all these guys who have these jobs that are paying less than what I'm making, like, if it's not working, I guess I've just got to step it up. And I've had to try to shake that off. It's not to say I haven't dated some doctors and some lawyers here and there. However, and I certainly don't date fast food workers, I'm sorry, but I mean, there's some thresholds there of like, not judging someone based on how much money they're making, but really what they're trying to do with their life.
Well, so you've dated a variety of different guys, but now that you're growing this new career in relationship coaching, does that have a positive or negative effect on your dating relationships experience?
It depends upon the guy, I guess.
Yeah.
So I actually spent the last 2 years without being on any dating apps. I was just meeting men in person. So it was a little bit different because I got to like see their reaction when I told them what I do. But I actually had a client convince me to get on a dating site recently. Like I say, I've been killing it. Like the last 3 weeks have been pretty awesome. But yeah, there's definitely some strange reactions. There's some guys I think that are intimidated by it. There's other ones who think they're gonna get free coaching advice, or as we kind of say, like, level up. I'm not here to help anybody level up. They kind of already need to be doing pretty well in that department for me to even.
So you're saying that being the dating coach has been pretty helpful?
It has, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think because I'm out there giving advice to people, I'm doing my best to also take my own advice. Things like dating safety. Just don't, yes, all these people are strangers, really, when you think about it. But don't just go out with someone that you've been talking to for 20 minutes or a day. Like, look them up on social media. Verify some facts. There have been a couple of dates that I've said, like, you've given me nothing, like, to find you online. Like, something's up. And I usually get the like, oh, well, you don't trust me. Like, no, I don't. You were a stranger.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Exactly.
If I can't find you on Instagram or Twitter, Facebook I can see. Not everybody's on Facebook, but I can't find you somewhere online. LinkedIn, something's up. You're either not giving me the right name, you're hiding something.
There was a comedian not too long ago who talked about like how he didn't understand how women could go out with men in the first place. I mean, men were the ones who were the cause of sexual harassment, of murder, rape, and all that stuff. How do you even do that? He didn't even understand.
You have to have a high filter, I really think. You've got to filter out some people.
So has being the relationship coach intimidated anyone or scared anyone off?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think there's probably been some that as soon as I say, they just seem to drop their interest, or especially ones in person. I don't know if they think that I'm going to judge them, or I don't know what it's been, but then there's others who have been like super interested. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think it's probably been more of a positive thing for my dating life than it has been a negative.
You were talking about recently getting on dating apps, mm-hmm. which I did for about a month once, and a friend said, you got to take your tour of duty. And it was just like, I meet so many people just naturally.
Yeah, that's how I am too.
Need to be on a dating app or anything like that. But you've been on some dating apps. This is a new thing mm-hmm. for people, because now, just like you were saying a moment ago, I need to be able to find you on some social media channels and find out what kind of thoughts you have, what kind of images you have.
It's about checking for authenticity, I think. That's really the
But
thing.
so that's a new area of dating that wasn't there 20 years ago.
Right.
Wasn't there 10 years ago. And now these modern women are using these tools to check people out. What do you think the effect of online dating and dating apps is having? Because some would say that you meet a stranger and somehow you got to try to integrate them into your life versus like the meeting through friends and they've got friends. And so now there's some sort of level of accountability.
Yeah. Well, I think for one thing, people are often looking for a reason to weed people out really quickly. Checking off the boxes on their dating profile and going like, yep, nope. And then I picked a dating app that was a little bit more focused on like first impressions rather than like stats, like age and religion and whether you smoke, things like that. I mean, yes, those things are important, but it was more about kind of developing first impressions. So yeah, I think people tend to just look for an excuse to not date somebody. I think that the digging too deep online creates this persona. And then if you meet this person in real life, you've already got kind of a vessel you're trying to put them into, a box you're trying to put them into. And that could be completely false because most of us aren't really putting our real selves out there, especially Facebook. Stats out there show that we lie through our teeth on Facebook about how great everything is really in life. Our Google searches are what really show what we are. That's what we should be putting up there is like, here's my login. You can look at my Google search. That's your real life.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's your real life.
Wow.
There's a book out there called Everybody Lies. That's by a guy that used to be a data analyst for Google.
I was also thinking about, that's an interesting point, but I was also thinking about, I saw a dating show once a long time ago where before the girls got to go out with the guys, they were allowed to go into his room or his apartment.
I saw that. Was that on MTV or something?
Yeah.
Or VH1? Yeah, okay.
And they would just find the most frightening things with the way these boys lived.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, so people are utilizing these dating apps, and you're a dating coach. So would you recommend dating apps?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're not for everybody, and they've got to
Who
find the right.
Who are they for?
They've got to find the right platform based on what they're looking for. If they're looking for hookups, like Tinder, Grindr, stuff like that. If they're wanting more of a relationship, things like Match or Hinge or
I've also heard though that like guys. I mean, I was really surprised to hear that like some guys on Tinder are saying not looking for hookups.
I would say that they're probably just on the wrong platform. I mean, yes, have I gone on like real dates from Tinder in the past? I'm not on Tinder now. I was on there like a couple of years ago. I went on some real dates. It wasn't just about hookups, but I mean, Tinder's just about first impressions. Yes, you can meet people, and oftentimes people say they're on multiple platforms. They're on Tinder, they're on Hinge, they're on the League, they're on Bumble, and sometimes they're finding the same person on multiple platforms. Yeah. So I think everybody's kind of got a few of them going out there. I just have the one right now. But you got to find the right platform for what you're looking for. And you really got to put your best foot forward. The pictures are really important, and how you have them set up with just yourself, not other people, the right angles, like showing yourself in different situations, a good, close-up, a full body shot, you doing something fun, but not of your back and not bad lighting. Like there's a delicate balance with the pictures.
Do you give guys coaching?
Oh, totally. I've definitely helped a lot of people with their dating profiles,
I hear that
men and women.
Women have told me that men need so much help with their profiles.
Oh gosh, I can.
Okay, let's go through them. What are some of the things that they need help on?
Stop putting your dead animals on your profile.
Stop putting your dead animals?
Like your dead deer and your fish and whatever.
Okay, I see.
I don't want to see that stuff.
Okay. I caught a.
Vacation photos are great, but you 50 feet off in the distance with your back is not cool. Like that's just of the scenery and where you've gone. Now, if it's like a picture of you standing in front of the Eiffel Tower or a camel in the desert, like that's cool.
Or having coffee in a coffee shop in Paris.
Yeah, there you go.
That sounds cool.
There you go.
But still, again, with the Eiffel Tower, you're teeny tiny.
True, but maybe it's like here in the Eiffel Tower, like, what I'm saying? There's ways to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's also really important to not have your hot friends in your picture. This is for guys and gals alike. Not get your ugly friends, not to have friends at all. Because one, your friend probably didn't give you permission to put you in their picture. Okay. Two, you run the risk of someone else being like, actually, I think that he or she's more attractive. And especially if it's someone of the opposite sex, that's just, don't do that. Don't do that at all. Because then we just wonder, like, is that just his ex-girlfriend? He was too lazy. He just thought it was a good picture. I have seen photos of men in their tuxes from their wedding and just the bride's cropped out. It's like, I know you looked good on your wedding day and your profile says divorced, but come on, man.
Oh, wow, that's lazy.
It is lazy.
That's lazy. What about some of the things that they say? What about that?
If I see work hard, play hard one more time, I swear to God.
Work hard, play hard. Cliche.
It is. That's the thing. Get rid of the
And what does that say to
cliches.
you? What does that say to you when you see work hard, play hard?
You go to the titty bars?
Go to titty bar.
I don't know. That's just what came out of my mouth. Or like you like going out and partying hard on the weekends. I'm sorry, but I enjoy a cocktail. I have a 38-year-old liver. It does not recover like it used to. I do not want to go out and get smashed every weekend.
Yeah.
So, well, and work hard just tells me, like, I'm a work smart, not hard person. Yeah. So are you working hard or are you working smart? Like, there's a difference between the two. And then when are you going to have time for me? I work hard too. Everybody works hard these days. Okay. So I don't want to hear it.
So get off the cliches, get better pics.
Get better pics. Frame things in the positive rather than be like, I don't want this, or swipe right if you're this, or we wouldn't get along if. Say the positive things. Like, I would really love someone that enjoys concerts and travel and coffee. And plus, that's also just showing, that's a good weed out tool though, if they're showing it in the negative. Like, I don't want people like this versus I really enjoy the company of people like this. Like, that's a red flag. Find someone that's framing stuff in the positive.
Like,
they're going to have a more positive mindset.
Like,
overall.
I enjoy a quality bourbon with a quality woman.
Good one. I like that.
I use it all the time when I'm posting pictures of me drinking bourbon.
Well,
let me ask you about something that's a little off topic from profile pics,
okay.
And it made me think of dick pics. Dick pics.
I've not gotten a dick pic in a long time.
Really?
Not unsolicited, I should say.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I got Snapchats today.
Okay. Did you get some dick pics on Snapchat today?
There were videos, but yeah.
Video?
Yeah.
Oh, damn, that's a whole nother level.
So, I mean...
But let's talk about that, because let's just talk about women in general and the reception of an unwanted dick pic. Why do you think guys do that? Because I've never done that. I don't know. I would never do that. I don't.
You're obviously a gentleman. Much appreciated. Again, it's been a long time since I've been in a situation where I've gotten an unsolicited dick pic, but I think it's just some guys get it in their heads that throw your dick out there 10 times, one person be like, hey. I don't know if it's just a numbers game thing. If they are narcissistic, they're really not confident. They're looking for some positive feedback. I really don't know. I'd actually love to hear from some guys that send dick pics to find out, like, what really motivates you to do that? What are you trying to accomplish?
Okay.
What do you think you're going to get with that?
Interesting. We should do a live on the street type segment where we ask guys.
Ever send an unsolicited dick pic?
Why?
Yes.
Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that, son? But what do, in general, how do women feel when they receive that? Because I think guys need to hear. What do guys?
It's just like, really? Why? Plus, if it's a text, and most people don't have their texting set up to where it's just says like name text message or phone number text message. It's like the preview. Up. So maybe we're in the middle of a business meeting or a lunch with friends or family, and all of a sudden our phone's sitting up, and then there's just a dick. I didn't ask for that.
That's just stomach turning. Oh gosh.
Again, when I did get a few, I just sent back the why. Why would you do that? I just got your phone number. It's the middle of the day. What are you doing? And that's the thing too. It's not like they were just, it was that they probably had it saved on their phone. So then it's the other thing of like, how many women have you sent that to?
Mm-hmm.
Some guys are pretty fast. I mean, like, there have been men that I've been talking to that they've asked and pretty early, and I flat said no, and they've respected that. Then others, I'm like, sure, let's just see what I'm working with here. And I mean, what are you supposed to do with the feedback too, as a woman? Like, are you supposed to be like, nice, and lie if it's not?
Do you think that...
Do you just not respond if it's not good?
Do you think that... I just don't think that should be sent, but do you think just to go off on a far tangent, like, do you think that guys should perhaps ask, would you like a photo of my penis? Or,
Yes. Get consent.
Get consent.
Get consent.
Consent. That's also a very big topic
Because
right
you might be
there.
like, hell yes, but right now is not a good time. Can you send it to me later? I'm
Sure.
busy right now.
Okay, yeah. You might get some positive
Yeah.
response for that, but when you just send it
Randomly.
unsolicitedly.
Unsolicitedly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you brought a toy to the set today. Do you want to share what you brought?
It's more of a teaching tool than a toy.
Oh, okay. Ooh, I have a correction. Teaching
Yeah.
tool.
This
So,
is my vulva puppet.
and tell me about
well, you know,
what this is about.
I brought Parker Pussy because, we were talking about some of the things that men need to learn.
Is Parker a boy name or a girl name?
Well, it's after Parker Posey.
Okay.
Parker Pussy.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I'm a punny person. My
Yes, you are.
actually, my best friend came up with that
Okay.
one, but I liked it. No, since we were part of the things we were going to talk about was like what men need to learn. I brought Parker along because I figured men need to learn all the lady bits,
Okay.
especially the G-spot.
Well, since we're here and since you have it
Mm-hmm.
out, why don't you share some of the thoughts about what this is and what we can learn?
Sure.
So, tell us about Parker Pussy.
Parker
and-
Pussy is my vulva puppet made by the lovely lady who does the Wonders Vulva Puppet. She actually sells these on Etsy, so
Okay.
a lot of sex educators have these. It is to help men and women learn about their lady bits.
Do you think that there's a lot of women that still need to learn about this?
Oh,
a lot? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How many? What? 50%? 70%?
No, I would say it's more like 20 to 25%.
That's a lot of women.
I mean, there's a lot of women out there who've never looked at their own parts, like in a mirror, things
Yes.
like that.
I've been with those people before.
Yeah.
I'm like, you never looked at it? It's fabulous.
Right?
Check it out.
Get a mirror out.
Love it.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about the mirror
All
exercise.
right, let's go.
So, Parker Pussy has all of her bits, and I think the biggest thing that men need to learn about is the G-spot.
Now, the interesting thing about the G-spot, which I'll let you talk about, but isn't it at different locations for different women?
It has a feeling to it, so no matter where it's located, you can feel it. Some women, it's a little bit more inside the vaginal canal. It's on like the top, like their stomach part. Obviously, this is like this. So it feels like a ridge. That's why it's kind of this ribbon with this, because it's actually feels different. But it can be 1 to 2 or 3 inches inside.
1 to
on
2.
top.
1 to 2.
So
inches.
Anywhere from, and it's more like a region. It's not just a single little spot.
Okay.
It's more like an area. Yeah. So
I hear it can be rather the elusive G-spot.
not so much.
Not so much?
No, it's just more about how you stimulate it.
Okay. Keep going. Tell me about this.
Every woman is slightly different, but it is kind of, we've heard about that come hither. It is kind of more that curved thing.
Okay.
You got to keep your nails short.
Yeah.
I mean, I have been with women. That's one of my things I have to be really careful about is I have to have short nails while I'm doing that. But so yeah, you've got to stimulate from the top part, and every woman's different, but it's about a difference in pressure, speed. Clitoral stimulation at the same time is often really good for a lot of women.
That's where the thumb
comes in.
Okay.
Yep, just like that. Okay. Yeah. Once you're getting a woman close to orgasm with a G-spot orgasm, I mean, it's just their body's kind of moving. It's kind of almost that like letting go type of orgasm. Probably not making a lot of eye contact. Let them just get into their body and enjoy it, because the G-spot orgasm is often what leads to squirting, which a lot of people have probably seen in porn, things like that. It is a real thing, and a lot of women can learn to do it. Not all, but there are actually techniques out there that coaches can teach people. Again, I'm not physically in the room with anybody when I'm doing it. It's more of like telling them, like, here's what to do here in the moment, and here's how to stimulate it properly, but here's also how to relax and enjoy it.
Are these under like sex goals?
Right?
Right.
Squirting. Squirting's a new goal in 2019 for a lot of people.
I mean, I've experienced that before.
It's pretty incredible.
Pro tip: get a towel.
Well, the thing is, you might not know when it's coming, like literally.
Well, I think
Because it's not, even women that can squirt might not squirt every single time. And
okay.
maybe you're just going to finally do it correctly for her body, or she's relaxed enough, or she's trusting enough of her partner that she does it for the first time, or does it for the first time,
Oh, yeah.
in a long time. So I'm not a big fan of towels down.
Yeah. I was with someone that needed lots of towels, and she just had fun.
I've gotten pictures. I have a friend who is a squirter, and I've gotten pictures of the aftermath, is what we'll call it.
Yeah, the aftermath. Okay.
Yeah, the aftermath.
Let's get back to the toy. Let's talk about what are some other parts that are just really important.
Obviously,
what are the things that men need to learn about this?
Men need to especially learn that the clitoris isn't just about being the little button that's up there at the top. The clitoris actually extends underneath the inner labia. So it's a whole unit. There's lots of nerve endings down there. It's not just about that one spot. And also learning that you have to ease into playing with the clit. You can't just go full bore on it. You can't just rub it super hard at first. You have to be gentle and work it up and get it warmed up and then work into harder play or something.
And at the same time, you also really need to ask questions about how that should be addressed, because there are women who really like that attacked really firmly, and others who are just you have to be very sensitive about it. So you have to have,
There has to be confidence, I think, on both partners' ends. She needs to be confident enough to say harder, can you go a little softer? Right. He's got to be confident enough to be would you like it harder? Would you like it softer? Or to watch her body. If she's she's obviously not enjoying it. If she's, got her eyes closed and is, into it. There's just watch for her body cues.
Or just guys just have to be open to receiving feedback.
That too. Yeah. Because guiding someone to be hey, go a little bit more to the left. That's just her trying to help you both have a good time. It's not her saying you suck, stop doing that. It just means go to the left. The unfortunate part about women's bodies too is that one day you might feel really good on the left-hand side of your clit, and the next day you might feel really good on the right-hand side of the clit. So even from day to day, when you've done something before that felt really good, it may not feel good 3 days later. So our coaching and our feedback is not always about your technique. It's sometimes just more about us and what we're feeling today.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. So you were talking recently about ghosting. Yeah. I don't think that's something that's not something that's new. No. But tell us about some of these dates that you've been on, a good one, a bad one. What works well these days for modern women?
Yeah, I've been on a lot of really good dates lately, and I've had some not so great. There was one a couple weeks ago that was pretty awful. But the good dates lately have been men that are, I guess kind of more the traditional gentleman. I'm not saying that necessarily it's great because he paid for everything, but he was polite, he was kind, he made great eye contact, he did happen to open doors, including the car door. Weather was kind of bad on one of the dates, and he made sure he didn't fall. Just other ones where they, don't even walk beside me, or the really bad date I had a couple weeks ago, he kept talking about my beautiful cousin, my hot cousin.
Oh yeah. Now, did he see her in a picture or what?
No, they were friends.
Okay.
So we connected on Instagram, and then I show up for the date, and he's like, "How do you know our mutual friend?" I said, "Well, that's my cousin, my first cousin." To his defense, he didn't realize that was a real thing for me, that she's the pretty one in the family. So he didn't really know that was a sore spot for me. Okay. However, he said, we're friends, whatever, but we've never had sex. And I'm like, good to know. I don't want her sloppy seconds. That's awesome. Cool. But over the next hour and a half, he said in some way, shape, or form, I didn't sleep with her, but I would have. I didn't fuck her, but I sure would have if I had the chance. And I'm like, I get it. Okay, she's hot. You would have slept with her, but for the love of God, would you stop?
So he went on
Don't
to
talk
just
about another woman.
Step on that button
it's
again
he
and
thought
again
it was
and
a funny joke at that point, haha, would have if I could have. Not cool.
What was it? What didn't he realize that he was doing? What was the insensitivity?
He obviously did not see the look on my face. It was I want to choke you right
so
now.
He wasn't
if you say that one more time.
Listening. He wasn't very aware. What else? What else was there? What is that communicating to you?
Well, even at the end of that, when I was like, I get it, she's hot, I actually said, I probably sleep with her too if I wasn't related to her. He goes, and a girl. I was like, well, I'm bisexual. It doesn't really matter. He was so into his story and how that little joke fit into his story. He didn't even ask me a question about being bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just was like in his zone. He wasn't actively listening. That's a big thing. Active listening. Not listening to respond or not just getting in your head and telling your story, but have a conversation, back and forth, a dialogue. Active listening is something that a lot of people don't have a high skill level in these days.
Are you saying that men don't have a high level of active listening skills?
I don't want to put it just on men, because I've definitely met women who don't.
Okay.
It's maybe a little bit more on men than...
Okay.
You've probably met those men out there who you say something and their next question has nothing to do with what you said, because they were just listening to your response, but they're ready to ask their next question.
Right. As a dating coach, how would you help a guy increase or improve his active listening skills? Because I mean, this is
skill.
This is something that, again, they don't teach you in school necessarily.
Well, maybe in speech and debate they do.
Maybe in speech and debate.
I never took speech and debate. I was a nerd, but I wasn't one of those nerds. No. Active listening requires that you acknowledge what somebody said and reflect back what they said, and you check for your understanding, and then respond. So, like, how do you help men become better active listeners? You reflect back what they've just said. And, like, did I hear what you said correctly?
So what you're saying is that in order to help men be better active listeners, I should reflect what they've said.
Correct.
Just like
that. You
that.
should reflect what they said.
Ding, 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 silver star.
So that you make sure you heard. Because then if you reflect back and you're like, well, no, that's not exactly what I meant. I meant this. So it can allow for clarification. Or it can say, like, yes, that's exactly what I meant. And show you that you really understood what they're saying. And then that person feels like they're really being listened to.
Mm-hmm. What are some other things that guys could improve upon in dating? You mentioned before you got on set something about hygiene.
Yes. So I'm a little hyper aware about hygiene because I have a little bit of OCD. Guys, like, clean under your nails, wash your hands before intercourse. I mean, don't just, like, go out and be messing around on your phone or, like, messing with your remote control and then go into fingering a girl. Go wash your hands. Mm-hmm. We're the ones that have to deal with the aftermath.
That's true.
Of yeast infections or bacterial vaginosis, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, plus, bless her heart, I had a client one time that was in her 40s. She was kind of asking, like, what I'm learning as I'm going through becoming a certified sex coach. I said, well, you know, one of the fun things I get to do is watch a lot of educational DVDs. One of them was a bonus section about anal sex, about proper anal sex. She goes, well, what do you mean proper anal sex? Like, just tell me what you're looking at here. And so, well, you know, just different tips, like you've always got to use lubrication. No anus is self-lubricating. You shouldn't go from vaginal intercourse to anal back to vaginal. And she was like, what? I'm like, yes. Let's talk about E. coli and all that other stuff. Like, no. And she's like, well, that explains a lot. I was like, oh, baby doll.
So what is it that people need to know about this? Why don't you share some
You've got to wash off before you go back. And same with fingers. They can't go from vaginal anal back to vaginal. Tongues even, like, go brush your teeth. It is not just me being OCD when I'm asking for these things. It is literally so I don't need to go make a doctor's visit. I don't need to go get a prescription or just pick up something at CVS. Seriously, it is about health, and it is about infections and about the fact that you can get really sick. I'm not going to say that I haven't had anal oral play without a barrier or protection before. However, I am much more diligent lately about saying, like, hey, it's cool if you want to do that. Let's get a dental dam or use a glove or get some saran wrap out. I don't know, but we're going to figure out something. Yes, you can use saran wrap and some lube. Just put some lube underneath it, put the saran wrap over the top, and you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Saran wrap doesn't necessarily always protect against STDs, so that's one thing. But it prevents you from having to go wash off. Yeah.
Years ago, I was talking to a friend about dating, and I think I was putting something together, and I said, wow, like if women had a rule book, this would make things so much easier. And not just like a general rule book for women, but like if each woman had their own rule book for dating, like what does it take to date Kristen? You know, that would make it so much easier for us guys, because, you know, we go into these meeting women and every single woman is different. Yeah. I heard a long time ago an analogy of that. When two people come together, it's like bringing together two universes. When you think about the structure of the universe and the structure of the brain and all the experiences that come along with that, you really are bringing those two things together. So if someone were to download your PDF of what are the rules to date Kristen, what are some of the things that people would find on your rules?
I might have to get my rules here and then have every guy that wants to date me just listen to your podcast or watch this. I really would like them to have a good relationship with their family. I think that that's been a sticking point for me in the past.
So
it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be super, super tight, but I'm talking about like the people who have mommy issues or daddy issues just for no real reason. There's definitely people out there who should not have a relationship with their parent. There's lots of valid reasons out there, absolutely. But if it's just like, you just don't see eye to eye, you're just I want someone who has something solid or it's not there because of a valid reason, okay? Again, someone who is willing to communicate and be vulnerable. That thing that's always hurt in the past is someone who doesn't feel like they can be honest with me and say, hey, I didn't like this, or this hurt my feelings, or I'm mad about this. I don't want someone who's going to explode, you know, in 3 months. Be passive aggressive. Be passive aggressive, yeah, or just kind of have that like internal, just they're putting little tip marks about all the like bad things that I did, but they never said anything. Like, you know, it's a dance, and we're learning to dance together. I'm going to step on your toes.
Let me ask a little bit. Ask you to explain a little bit more about being vulnerable, because when I was a young person, when I was early dating, a girl told me that, you know, the most attractive part about you was that how vulnerable you are. She's like, that's the reason why I just keep dating you, because you continue to like put yourself out there, and I could stomp on that, but you keep doing it, and I'm like, it makes me not. And I was like, okay, so that's probably, being vulnerable sounds like a good thing.
It is.
I don't know exactly how I do it, or if I do it, or how I even pull that across.
Because when you're in it, it's hard to analyze, like, yeah.
But tell me about
what it looks like.
What is being vulnerable? Because that's a TED Talk.
Yeah.
And
the way Brene Brown put it one time was, imagine you've got that teenage daughter who you pick her up from school and she says, I ate alone at lunch today, and that really hurt. And the difference between the mom who says, well, if you would just maybe do your hair a little different, or wear those clothes that I bought you at the mall like all the other girls are wearing, maybe you'd fit in more. Versus the mom who's willing to say, like, I've been there, I know what that feels like, and I'm really sorry that you went through that. Like, do you want to talk about it? That's what being vulnerable is about. And saying, like, I've had that experience, I'm sorry that you had that experience, let's chat about it.
Let's talk about it just a little bit more, though, because I feel like it's more than just
it is more than that, yeah.
Being empathetic. Being vulnerable is to say,
just take off your armor.
Yeah.
It's letting those pretenses fall away, that those things that make you say, like, I'm powerful or I'm strong, you have to let those things fall away to say, like, yeah, I had a really hard time in my life. You can't just walk through introducing yourself to somebody by saying, like, I am strong, I'm invincible. Like, you can present that to the world in certain aspects, especially like business or whatever, but when it comes to that partner, that person in your life, be willing to show them that, you know, these things have hurt me in the past, or here's what I'm really not wanting to get into. Here's what I do want to get into. Like, you've got to be willing to say, like, this has hurt me before. I don't want to get hurt again. Or just show how. Seeing a man cry is not a sign of weakness. I think that one of the first times I see each man in my relationship cry has told me a lot about them, because sometimes it took them a lot longer than others. And what they shed a tear over was also really, really telling.
But being vulnerable isn't always just about expressing when I've been hurt either.
No.
What other times does vulnerability come into play?
Well, definitely in the bedroom. You know, being willing to say that you like certain kink or certain fetish, like to a new person, you're taking a lot of risk, because that person could judge you or think you're weird or just not want to participate in it. We're in a time where I think that people are a lot more willing to be understanding of some of those things, but there's still a lot of super judgmental people out there. A man that's willing to admit that he wants to be in a female-led relationship, he literally wants to hand over his checkbook and everything that he does to his woman, and she tells him what to do. There are men out there that like that, and there are women out there that like to be in that. But that dance of you're dating someone and you're just meeting someone and you don't know if they're open to it, and then you finally tell them what you like, that can be really, really scary.
Interesting. Wow. I haven't really talked about that before, a female-led relationship.
Well, and there's all sorts of things out there that could be really intimidating to talk about, that you've got to take that moment to test the water, see how much you can trust this person, see how open they are, and then let them know kind of what you're into.
Yeah.
And I think it's better to talk about what you're into or what you're not into before you get into a sexual situation. It could be just two totally different people and want two very, very different things. Yeah. And it's not about either one of them being wrong. It's just about them being different.
So being communicative, being vulnerable. What are some other rules
for dating, Kristen?
Yeah.
I do love a good old school gentleman. I hate to say it. And it's not about him. Again, it's not about him paying the bill at lunch or dinner or whatever. That is nice. But I do like the, kind of feeling like safe with them and kind of slightly taken care of, even though I know I can take care of myself. I used to be a karate instructor. Like, I got no problems. Like, if we're going to throw down, we're going to throw down together.
You used to be a karate instructor.
I used to be a karate instructor.
And you have those skills?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not see
I'll
that.
admit I'm a little rusty, but yeah, I used to be a karate instructor. I have a second class brown in American Kempo.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's another thing that can often intimidate guys. Like, well, I know not to fuck with you. I'm like, yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So I need them to recognize that I am a strong, independent woman, and that while I can take care of myself, that doesn't mean I necessarily want to be the one that is always taking care of everything. I definitely need someone who is not looking to fall into some of those traditional gender roles. I love to cook, but he better cook as much as me. I can do laundry in full, but he better do as much as me. Or we'll have that delicate dance of like, hey, you've got more time on your hands this week and I don't. Like, can you help do this chore for me? Like, there's just got to be someone who's willing to have balance, especially when it comes to taking care of the stuff that makes things run. That emotional labor that a lot of women tend to take care of in a relationship, the making sure the bills are paid or knowing where to go for certain things or what kind of peanut butter do you keep in the house? Like, women tend to do a lot of those things, and men are just kind of oblivious.
Yeah.
I need someone that pays attention to detail and cares about that kind of stuff.
That's a really challenging thing, because I think that men are probably challenged when it comes to paying attention to details.
But when they live on their own, they get the same exact peanut butter every time. Why can't they do it once they're in a relationship? Or the whole thing of they get something out and they can't put it back where it was. Like, there's just the little things about running a household that women often find so infuriating about men, because we've seen them in their bachelorhood, and we see you can function in your bachelorhood and you do the same things over and over again.
But could they? Because
I've seen plenty of men function on their own
and
then get into a relationship and it's like, did you forget how to wash clothes? You obviously had clean clothes when you were a single lad. Unless your mom was doing it, you were paying a service for it, which I don't think you were. And now suddenly, oh.
I don't know. Yeah, again, I think that you ought to just explore that person's home and see how they live.
I have.
I remember years ago I had roommates, a couple guys, and I went over to their place because they were looking for roommates. They were friends of mine from college, but I went to their place and I was like, okay, first of all, you can't live like this, because they were like total no, we won't do that. We'll totally clean up. They came over and they were just the same. I was like, I should have seen that.
First time someone shows you what they are, believe them.
That's what Maya Angelou says.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin, and he had a roommate. This is before he was married, and I think he learned this lesson before he found this girl. But I went to their house and I was looking around. They both had a dog. And it's just dude stuff everywhere. And there's dog hair, there's just trash, like the toilet and the sink obviously had not been cleaned in a long time. And I'd been there about 20 minutes. I finally came out. I was like, I just want to ask you guys something. Would you both like to find girlfriends one day? And they're like, yeah, of course. I'm like, so imagine you meet a really lovely girl and you take her on a couple of dates and then you decide to bring her back here to maybe hang out, watch TV, and then have sex. How do you think she'd react to walking into this space? Because I can tell you right now, I'd turn around and walk away. Because just looking at this area, like, I don't want to see what your bed looks like. You probably haven't washed your sheets in a month and a half, and it smells like a dirty, nasty boy, and there's dirty dishes and empty, like, bags of stuff everywhere. I go, let me just go up to your rooms and look. And I go up and look, I'm like, yep. This looks like a frat house. This is not gonna fly if you try and bring a woman over here.
Yeah.
Look like you give a shit. Vacuum, dust, pick up after yourselves. You should be living a lifestyle that you could get a call in 10 minutes and someone says, I'm on my way over, and you're like, cool. You just need to do a couple quick things and be done with it.
Yeah. My mom gave me the rule. She's like, you never know when you're gonna have Miss Right in your car or Miss Right at your apartment. You never know. And so it's like, you gotta always be prepared for that.
That's right. I keep a tidy house because you never know when someone's gonna come over.
That's a simple, easy, thing to consider, consideration to have.
And it's just an adult thing. Pick up after yourself. Keep a clean home. It shows responsibility and that you care about yourself and your space.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on the show again. I mean, I appreciate all your ideas.
So much stuff.
And where can people find you in terms of on the web? And
all sorts of places. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Most of that's under Open the Doors KC. My website's openthedoorscoaching.com. They can find my contact information there.
All right, thanks, Kristen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.